Before the world knew him as a legend, before his fists shattered the boundaries of cinema, Bruce Lee was just a young man searching for direction. A boy forced to leave his home, a stranger in a foreign land, and a warrior rebuilding himself from nothing. This is the part of his journey the world never truly saw. The loneliness, the struggle, the rebellion, and the burning fire that transformed an ordinary teenager into an unstoppable global icon. Bruce Lee's life is one of those rare stories that refuses to fade with time. Even decades after his death, people still talk about him with the kind of admiration usually reserved for heroes of ancient legends. His speed, his intensity, and the philosophy he carried inside him made him unlike anyone the world had ever seen. But behind the fame and the iconic moments that fans remember, behind the unforgettable kicks, the confident screams, and the deep words about water and strength, there was a boy who grew up fighting against circumstances, a teenager who struggled to find direction, and a man who pushed himself so hard that his own limits became invisible. This is that journey, the untold side of Bruce Lee's life, told from the beginning in a human and grounded voice, without glamour or exaggeration, but with all the depth that shaped him into the figure we remember today. Bruce Lee was born in San Francisco in 1940 during his father's opera tour in America. His father, Lee Hoi Chuen, was a respected Cantonese opera performer known in Hong Kong's cultural circles, while his mother, Grace Ho, came from a family with mixed heritage and strong social ties. Bruce's birth in the United States wasn't planned as a permanent stay. It was more of a coincidence tied to his father's career. The attending nurse chose the name Bruce, while his mother gave him the Chinese name Li Junfan. After a few months, the family returned to Hong Kong, where Bruce would spend the majority of his childhood. Hong Kong at that time was a city constantly shifting under the weight of political conflict and recovery from war. Streets were crowded, life moved fast, and survival demanded alertness. As a child, Bruce was energetic to the point of being uncontrollable. His teachers often complained that he couldn't sit still, and his classmates remembered him as a curious, mischievous boy who was always involved in something. He loved running through the streets, observing people, and engaging in small scuffles that kids his age usually avoided. There was a spark in him, a stubborn unwillingness to back down from challenges, no matter how risky. His parents sometimes worried, sometimes laughed, and often tried to guide him, but Bruce was determined to move at his own pace. As he transitioned into his teenage years, the city around him became both exciting and dangerous. Street gangs were rising, and many young boys found themselves joining these groups either for identity or protection. Bruce didn't join because he wanted trouble. He joined because he loved physical challenge and because he naturally fell into leadership roles among his friends. The fights he got into during this period weren't organized martial arts battles. They were raw street encounters where survival depended more on instinct than skill. Bruce wasn't the biggest boy in any fight, but he had a sharp sense of timing, quick reflexes, and a fierce determination that made him stand out. These street fights didn't shape him into a criminal, but they did teach him about real danger, about unpredictability, and about human nature in heated moments. His mother, Grace, noticed that her son's involvement on the streets was getting riskier. She saw how often he returned home bruised or exhausted, and she feared that one wrong step would pull him into a life he didn't deserve. She wanted him to channel that fire inside him into something meaningful, something structured. It was this concern that eventually led Bruce to the doorstep of one of the most influential figures in his life, Ip Man, the legendary Wing Chun master. Training under Ip Man wasn't something that came to Bruce easily. He entered the school with confidence, but also with impatience. Wing Chun wasn't showy like what he saw in movies. It was precise, focused, and built on understanding rather than brute force. Ip Man taught with calm authority, always emphasizing discipline and internal strength. At first, Bruce struggled with the slow drills and the repetitive exercises, but gradually he began to understand that true mastery required control, not just of the body, but of the mind. The wooden dummy drills sharpened his techniques, teaching him how to strike with purpose and economy. Chisao, the sticky hands exercise, taught him sensitivity and the ability to read an opponent's intentions through touch alone. Under Ip Man, Bruce discovered that martial arts weren't about proving strength to others, they were about refining oneself. However, Bruce didn't suddenly become an obedient student overnight. His fiery temperament still clashed with the calm nature of Wing Chun. He continued to get into street fights, though now he had more skill behind his actions. By the time Bruce reached his late teens, his involvement in street fights became a serious issue. In one particular incident, the police became involved, and that was the moment his parents realized a decision needed to be made. They feared that if he stayed in Hong Kong, he would either end up injured, trapped in gang conflicts, or facing legal consequences. So, at the age of 18, Bruce was sent to America to start over and build a new path. It was both a punishment and an opportunity, one that would eventually lead him into the most transformative chapters of his life. When Bruce arrived in America, he felt both free and lost. The world around him was unfamiliar. New customs, new languages, new expectations. He first stayed in San Francisco, the city where he was born, before moving to Seattle to continue his studies. Life in Seattle wasn't glamorous. Bruce had to work hard to support himself, taking jobs such as washing dishes and helping in restaurants. He lived simply, sometimes struggling financially, but American life also offered him something he never had before, the chance to reinvent himself entirely on his own terms. During his time working and studying, Bruce began teaching martial arts informally. At first, it was just something he did among friends or co-workers, but soon people started noticing that he had a unique way of explaining and demonstrating martial movements. Unlike traditional teachers who relied heavily on rituals and preset forms, Bruce focused on practicality. He stripped away what he believed was unnecessary and emphasized what worked in real situations. His teaching attracted people of diverse backgrounds: white, black, Asian, male, female, experienced fighters, and complete beginners. This diversity gave Bruce a sense of purpose and made him feel that martial arts could be something universal. While teaching, Bruce also studied at the University of Washington. He explored philosophy, psychology, and drama, subjects that would eventually influence every aspect of his martial arts thinking. He believed that movement, thought, and emotion were connected, and he sought to understand how to express oneself honestly in combat and in life. His ideas were bold and often challenged traditional views, but Bruce was never someone who followed the crowd. He believed deeply in evolution, the evolution of fighting, the evolution of thinking, and the evolution of human potential. However, his inclusive teaching style soon brought him into conflict with certain members of the Chinese martial arts community in America. Many believed that martial arts knowledge should stay within Chinese circles and shouldn't be passed on to outsiders. Bruce strongly disagreed. To him, knowledge wasn't something to lock away behind cultural gates. He believed martial arts were for anyone willing to learn seriously, regardless of race. This disagreement grew intense, leading to an ultimatum that Bruce must stop teaching non-Chinese students or face consequences. This building tension led to one of the most debated events in Bruce's life, the challenge fight between him and Wong Jack Man, a martial artist with strong training and reputation. The fight has been surrounded by rumors and conflicting accounts. But what matters most isn't the exact details, but what the fight sparked inside Bruce. Though he won the challenge, Bruce wasn't satisfied. He realized that even with his skill, the fight took longer than he expected. That realization forced him to question everything he had learned and everything he was teaching. Bruce concluded that strict styles and rigid traditions didn't prepare fighters for real combat. Life was fluid. Opponents were unpredictable. A fixed method couldn't possibly represent truth. So he began crafting what would eventually become Jeet Kune Do, the way of the intercepting fist. Rather than being a style with rules and forms, it was a philosophy of freedom, adaptability, and self-expression. He encouraged fighters to be like water, flexible yet powerful, able to adapt to any container, any obstacle. Jeet Kune Do wasn't about following a script. It was about finding one's own way through honest movement. As Bruce's ideas evolved, so did his ambitions. He opened schools in Seattle, Oakland, and Los Angeles, and his demonstrations attracted attention from martial artists, athletes, and eventually Hollywood personalities. His sharp mind, athletic grace, and charismatic presence made him unforgettable. It wasn't long before television producers began to take interest. Bruce's first major breakthrough came when he was cast as Kato in the television show The Green Hornet. Though the series didn't last long, it introduced him to American audiences and showed Hollywood that he had something special. However, despite his obvious talent, the entertainment industry wasn't ready to place an Asian actor in the spotlight. Bruce had to fight against stereotypes, limited roles, and biases that constantly blocked his path. When he pitched his own ideas, including a show concept about a Chinese martial artist wandering America, he was told audiences wouldn't accept an Asian lead. The concept was later remade into the series Kung Fu, with a white actor playing the lead role. This was a painful betrayal for Bruce, but instead of giving up, he looked elsewhere. That elsewhere was Hong Kong. When Bruce returned to Hong Kong in the early 1970s, he was taken aback by the level of fame he had unknowingly built there. People recognized him on the streets. They admired his confidence, his presence, and the unique way he carried himself. This sudden popularity opened doors with Hong Kong film studios eager to work with him. Raymond Chow of Golden Harvest offered Bruce creative control and the chance to star in films that were different from anything the Hong Kong audience had seen before. Bruce's first major Hong Kong film, The Big Boss, was an instant sensation. The audience had never seen such intensity on screen, fast strikes, sharp emotions, and a hero who felt real rather than exaggerated. With Fist of Fury, Bruce's influence grew even bigger. He wasn't just an actor, he was a symbol of strength, pride, and defiance. Hong Kong saw him as a new kind of hero, someone who represented hope and possibility. His third major film, Way of the Dragon, allowed Bruce to showcase his full creative vision. He wrote, directed, choreographed, and starred in it, demonstrating a level of artistic control rare for actors at the time. The film featured the iconic fight between Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris in the Roman Colosseum, a scene that would go down in history as one of the greatest martial arts fights ever filmed. Bruce's choreography was both cinematic and authentic, blending beauty with brutality in a way only he could. As Bruce worked on more projects, including the ambitious collaboration Enter the Dragon, he pushed himself relentlessly. He wanted not just to entertain, but to redefine martial arts cinema, to bring depth, philosophy, and realism into a genre that often relied on flashy moves without meaning. Everyone around him noticed how hard he worked, sometimes too hard. He trained obsessively, wrote late into the night, and managed exhausting schedules. It was as if he sensed that time was moving quickly and that he needed to make his mark before it slipped away. Then came the tragedy that stunned the world. On July 20, 1973, Bruce Lee passed away unexpectedly at the age of 32. The official report stated cerebral edema, a swelling of the brain, but questions and theories circulated immediately. Some believed it was an allergic reaction, others speculated about the pressure he had been putting on his body, while conspiracy theories spread in the shadows. No explanation ever felt complete, because losing someone so full of life, so young, felt fundamentally wrong. His death created a shockwave. Fans mourned, family members broke down, and the world tried to understand how someone so strong could be gone so suddenly. But even in death, Bruce's influence didn't disappear. Instead, it grew. After the release of Enter the Dragon, Bruce became a global icon. His films reached audiences everywhere, inspiring millions of people to take up martial arts, to challenge their limitations, and to think differently about physical and mental discipline. His writings guided athletes, performers, and thinkers across generations. His philosophy of being like water became a mantra for people seeking balance and adaptability. Asian actors found new opportunities because Bruce broke barriers that once felt unbreakable. Filmmakers around the world studied his choreography, his timing, and his screen presence, using his innovations to shape modern action cinema. Bruce Lee wasn't just a fighter, he was a thinker who used movement to express ideas. He wasn't just an actor, he was a creator who transformed a genre. He wasn't just a man, he became a symbol of possibility, resilience, authenticity, and self-mastery. His life story, though brief, continues to echo through time. He taught the world that greatness isn't simply given, it is earned through discipline, courage, honesty, and the willingness to break free from expectations. Bruce Lee's journey, from a restless boy in Hong Kong to an international legend, reminds us that the human spirit, when fueled by passion and purpose, can rise far beyond the limits imposed by society, and that is why, even today, Bruce Lee remains an eternal inspiration, a guiding force for anyone striving to discover their true potential, to live boldly, and to express themselves without fear.